Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 439. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com. We're excited to have with us the internationally acclaimed and inspirational children's book author, Charlotte Tinsley Rouse. Charlotte.
Thank you. I don't know about internationally, but
So this is exciting. So you've actually you have a book out, and the book is called Summer Song: A Day in the Life of a Child, correct?
yes,
Yeah, and it is award winning too. You've won awards to that as well.
absolutely.
Yeah. So can you share a bit about your background and what led you into writing children's books?
Well, I've been a teacher for many years, and I have been with several different age groups, but my favorite age groups was pre-K and especially kindergarten. I loved kindergarten. So I would read all of these books and love them. I've always been a lover of books. When I was a little girl, I had a keen imagination and I always had imaginary friends. And I just loved story and loved books, and I would sleep with my books. So, when I went to bed, there was books all around me. And so as I was teaching, though, I would think, I could write that, or I would like to try to write that. But I found that I was just so busy doing those years. And so I told myself that when I retired, that's what I wanted to do, was to write or try my hand at writing a children's book. So I was actually had tried to write several things and was working on something, a story about a little girl and a mama cat. And that night when I went to bed, I thought, in the morning, I'm going to get up and I'm going to write down some memories about myself when I was a little girl. And so I was doing that, not really thinking about writing a book. And after I got finished, I loved what I had jotted down. And so I just kept writing. And then I wasn't writing in prose, I was writing in free verse. And I decided I need to let someone that really knows, a professional, I need to let them read this and see what they think.
Okay. And so how did your upbringing in Alabama kind of influence your storytelling?
Well, of course, I grew up in a little different time. Things was free, but one of the reasons that I wrote Summer Song was because of what I'm seeing as a teacher, a parent, a grandparent, but a teacher, and some of it's quite disturbing because children, how they learn and what they need, is not really happening as much as it needs to happen. The freedom of play, and so I thought I want to write not only a story for children, but I want to write some little helps for parents to see that even though things are different in our world than when I grew up, you went outdoors after breakfast and you just enjoyed yourself, not only in your own yard, but I lived in a subdivision, but up behind the subdivision was mountains, and we would explore those woods and mountains with all the freedom, that we had. And so oftentimes we would leave in the morning and we might not be back until almost dark time.
how did you collaborate with your illustrator, Sarah Jo Floyd, to bring the story to life?
Honestly, I pray about everything I do, and I was not liking what I was seeing in some of the children's books. I didn't like cartoon looking figures, and there's a place for all that, but I wanted something different. And I ran across Sarah Jo's work, and it was just what I wanted. I looked her up. I didn't know if I could even, if she would even consider it or whatever. And, but her work and the story to me just blended well. Everything is hand sketched, watercolor painted, and I had to sign a contract stating that I would let her have the freedom of creativity. And so she started asking me to send pictures. And I said, okay, but now I want this to be for today's child. And she said, you don't understand. I live in Kansas on the prairie, and you're talking about mountains, so I need you to send me pictures of the area, and I want to see pictures of you and your siblings and all of that, just as inspiration. So I did send them, and she used a lot of that to create the story, to create the illustrations.
Okay. So because you do mention one of the themes of Summer Song is unstructured play. Can you kind of discuss
Yes.
the significance of unstructured play in children's development?
Okay. Well, what I'm seeing now is I heard this statistic the other day that the average child, today's child, has less time outside for free play than the average prisoner has
Wow.
outside. And I really believe that's true because so many parents, both parents work. Then we have a real problem with safety. We just cannot let our children go outside and roam freely anymore. And then so many parents have their children very involved in sports and other things, but that is different than free play.
Mm.
And so, in free play, when it's uninterrupted, independent free play and exploration, that means your child is getting to make choices, they're getting to think outside the box, they're getting to use their imagination, they're getting to be with other children and communicate, negotiate, work out problems, um, plan, invent, and create this warm feeling in their heart for nature and for the outdoors and uh, thinking about life in general. Even children need time to daydream and enjoy all the things that's in nature. And children are just not getting that. And
Mm.
so, what I'm advocating as a former as a former teacher, but also as a mother and a grandmother, is that we need to intentionally plan for free play. We may have to be nearby, but we can plan for some safe places for children to play and to enjoy and to give them opportunities to do that. As a teacher, I learned that it takes children about 45 minutes to get into their play. Now,
Mm.
they need free play both indoors and outdoors, but we need to not structure it. That means you can plan some safe places. You can even put some things out there, like sandbox and swing set and with the sandbox funnels and spoons and dishes and pots and pans and all kind of things for them to have, buckets and so forth. So the parent has to plan, but then you leave the child alone and let them discover and do things like that on their own. Don't
Mm,
take away all of that. But in doing that, it creates an opportunity for children to think outside the box and to let those neural traces deepen, which causes growth cognitively. What I'm finding is children, when they come into school, they've had everything, all the decisions made for them, or either they're in front of a screen. Sometimes it's uh, little games that parents think is educational, but anytime you're in front of a screen or a TV, that screen is moving and that shortens the attention span. Now, I made Summer Song a little bit longer on purpose.
mm,
It's a collection of free verse, and children need to learn to sit longer and longer periods of time to listen to stories being read so their attention span can grow.
mm,
So, I mean, it's just all goes in there together. I think play and I think in order for America, we've been hearing a lot about how we need to get our educational system up and running better and have more for our children and do better like some other countries. But like Finland, for instance, they have incorporated so much free play into their educational program. And right now we're seeing children that have so much anxiety and just younger and younger ages thinking about committing suicide and all of these things. Our children has just got to have some freedom, some
mm,
space to explore and to relax. Children need to lay out on the grass and look up at the sky and have time to think. They can't be rushed all the time, and they can't be like even in sports. They have coaches telling them what to do. Well,
mm.
there's a time and place for that, but they've got to have some freedom also.
Right, right. Um, yeah, that's really powerful. It's like I know that I read also an article because I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and we just let them run in the backyard. I remember growing up, my parents would during the summertime would just say, stay out of the house. We had like 100 acres of woods to play in,
Oh,
and
wow.
don't come back until it gets to be dark. And we would just play in the woods all day long, and it was
Yes,
amazing.
me too.
And there was a point where I can't remember where I saw this from, but they said, um, as much as you want to play with your kids when they're doing that unstructured play, you kind of disrupt them with your adultness. It's like if you come in and
Absolutely.
like play with like rules or let's play a game or anything, because you can never catch up to a child's imagination as much as you think you can.
Right,
It actually, and it kind of, like you said, it interrupts it a little bit too.
right.
So
And if there's
yeah.
more than one child and maybe they're having a disagreement, you don't want to someone get hurt, but sometimes we just need to stand back and see if they can't negotiate and work things out.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. How do you hope then, like, your books will impact children's lives?
Well, I wanted Summer Song to speak to children. I wanted them to see things and think, oh, I'd like to do that. But I wanted it to inspire young parents to see the need of children to play and for them to create some safe places for their children to enjoy independent play.
Okay.
And I think reading books just not only does it enhance imagination, and we all need that for life, but I think it inspires children. I didn't think about wanting to be a writer until I was about 17.
Wow.
And then I read a book about a girl in journalism, and I thought, I don't really know if I want to do journalism, but I want to write. Um,
Mm.
but hopefully, my books, I want children to have fun with them, but I want them to be inspired too.
So what would you say, Charlotte, has been your most rewarding part of your journey as an author?
Well, it's a dream that's come true. And, my next birthday I'll be 74, but I'm not too old to keep living and keep reaching goals and keep being a learner. And I have more and more things I want to do. So I enjoy that, but talking to people, like at book signings, I love talking to people, both older people and children.
Mm.
I like going in schools, and I think that's my favorite part, but it is a dream come true.
Mm.
And then Sarah Jo Floyd, the illustrator for Summer Song, actually did use pictures from my family. And so when I open up Summer Song and I look at the picture of the house, that's the house I grew up in.
Wow. And so as you mentioned, so you're also going to be celebrating your 50th wedding anniversary, correct?
55.
55, that's what it was. So so my
55.
that's amazing. So how do you balance writing with other aspects of your life?
Well, because I am retired, um, I I just choose my own time, and I'm always reading. I love to read, and I find that reading does inspire me to write. So sometimes I just start, writing down little notes and things. So,
Mm.
sometimes I don't. I'm not real disciplined to write every single day, and I want to change that a little bit more. But every day that I live, I'm reading, and
Okay.
the reading then causes me to want to write.
And so what advice would you give to other aspiring children's book authors?
Well, the first thing would be get some training, because you can be a lover of books, you can have worked with children for many years, but you need to know the craft of writing, I think. And we all learn. I mean, it's a continuous thing that we learn. But after I retired, I did take a little writing class. And then in the day and time we live, with technology being what it is, you can get such an education online and learn new skills and things. And so I have done a lot of that from YouTube and other um, podcasts and different things. And then I also got professional help.
Mm.
I like my new book has been edited by myself, I think 12 or 13 times. And I'm
Wow.
talking about big cuts and rewriting parts of it. But in the end, then, after I finish all I can finish, I always seek a professional editor, someone who has both written children's books and adults books, and is an award-winning author herself, and does editing and other things. So I always get professional people involved. And
Mm.
then, I let other people read. My husband reads everything. He's my biggest fan, but he always loves it, no matter how it is. He loves it.
And so Charlotte, if people want to learn more about you and your work, where is the best place they could go to?
To my website, I think. And there's
Okay.
some interesting things on the website. There's a couple of videos One is of my illustrator working, and I think that's very enjoyable to watch. It both tells about Summer Song, but you can actually see her work. And she's a very interesting person. She may be someone you would like to talk to on a
Yeah.
podcast sometimes. But she and her husband both. Her husband is an artist as well, and he did the layout and the graphics for Summer Song.
You got to come back on when your next book comes out then.
Oh, I would love to. And thank you so much for inviting me. I loved it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And so, this is what I love about this, Charlotte, that I can edit out some of the pauses on here to make it sound like I asked the questions right next to each other, and people are like, wow,
Okay.
Barney's asking all the great questions. Look at him go. So yeah. So my next question for you then is, what would you say is